This is Edinburgh Castle, and it's supposedly pretty haunted. So much so, they took a couple of hundred unsuspecting people and used them to do a study on the paranormal activity here back in 2001. The results were interesting. Welcome to Scotland Unplugged. I'm Robert Parker, and these are the ghosts of Edinburgh Castle. It is autumn, spooky season, time to light the fire, time for the leaves to fall off the front of my house, and time for some ghost stories. This is Professor Richard Wiseman, Professor of the Public Understanding of Psychology at the University of Hertfordshire, magician and YouTuber. That sounds like a hectic schedule. And as I say, this is Edinburgh Castle. There have been people here since at least the Iron Age, and the castle itself was here in some form as far back as Malcolm III in the 11th century. And you can see why. It sits on top of Castle Rock, a volcanic plug with views for miles around. And being a viewpoint, it's seen some things. It's been a royal residence, a prison, and a military garrison. It's seen murders, battles, and it's actually the most besieged place in Britain. But has that left it with some supernatural baggage? There are a lot of ghosts. One night in 1650, some of the castle staff reportedly saw a drummer boy striding round the castle courtyard, keeping a beat. He kept at it for a while, but no one asked him why. No one would go near him. Everyone was quite rightly terrified when they realised he didn't have a head. Soon afterwards, Oliver Cromwell invaded and captured the castle. He's never been seen since, but staff in the castle sometimes hear the rat-tat-tat of drumming from quieter corners at night, and they say if he's seen, it's a pretty bad omen. I'm not quite sure how they know that, but there we are. When tunnels were discovered under the castle, people wanted to map them, so they sent a piper down into the depths so they could follow the sound. Everything was going to plan until the pipes suddenly stopped. The castle staff went down there, but no one could find the piper boy. Eventually the entrance was bricked up, but to this day, some say you can still hear the distant echo of the pipes. I mean, it could just be a busker on Princess Street, or the Royal Mile. This is the Argyll Battery, and this is the Dog Cemetery, the place where the regimental dog mascots are buried. Apparently, you can sometimes hear scratching and barking, maybe see the outline of a small black dog. But perhaps there's one ghost that's the most unfortunate of all. Over the years, this place has seen a lot of prisoners of war, Jacobites, American and French sailors captured during the Napoleonic and American War of Independence. Prisoners obviously like to escape, and naturally that leads to some more outlandish attempts. One man hatched a cunning plan to hide in a dung barrel. You can see how the cogs turned in his head. When he was wheeled out of the castle, he'd likely be tipped into a comfy dung heap, rather than being executed or starving to death or getting eaten by rats. As luck would have it, he wasn't wheeled out of the castle at all. The contents of the cart were tipped over the wall, and nowadays, if you're unlucky, he might try to push you over the ramparts. You do get a bit of a warning though. His presence is apparently always accompanied by the smell of manure. That's quite something to carry around with you for eternity. On the 17th of July, 1537, Janet Douglas, Lady Glams, was burned at the stake here after James V accused her of treason. Her family and her servants were interrogated until they supplied the information James needed, and she was put to death in front of her own son. Some say she haunts the place as a grey lady, although others also say that the grey lady could be the ghost of Marie de Guise, Mary Queen of Scots' mum. With so many ghosts around, it does seem like a good spot to do some investigation. And for 10 days at the beginning of April 2001, Richard Wiseman and his team did just that. As part of the Edinburgh Science Festival, more than 200 volunteers and 9 members of staff took part in the trial. Some of them entered the castle and some the vaults on the South Bridge, just off the High Street, equally as haunted and worth a video of their own. The team used sophisticated equipment to measure air temperature, air movement, magnetic fields and light levels. When they collated all the information, the results were interesting. In the areas that had previously been reported as haunted, 51% of the volunteers claimed to have experienced some kind of paranormal activity. In the areas with no reported activity, it was 35%. None of the volunteers had any prior knowledge of reported hauntings, and some people have suggested this at least goes halfway to proving the hauntings are real. Others not so much. Professor Wiseman said he was no closer to believing, but closer to being a lot more curious. Whatever is happening down there, there's at the very least a bit of a mystery to figure out. Suggested explanations have been that these things tend to happen in bigger spaces, and maybe the size of the space has some effect on human psychology. It's obviously something that needs a bit more looking into, and I'm sure there would be plenty of volunteers out there. But what do you think? Is there a logical explanation, or do the spooks walk among us?